Good afternoon and welcome to today's Gain Line. Joining me to preview Wales' match against Fiji tomorrow, I've got Wales Online's Assistant Head of Sport, John Dole, and rugby writer, Andy Howell. Good afternoon, gents.
Afternoon, Sean.
Afternoon, Sean.
So, where else can we start, really? We've got Wales v Fiji, less than 24 hours to go. We're sat here waiting excitingly. It feels like a game that in the past maybe has been a banana skin waiting to happen for Wales. Are we feeling nervous? Are we completely confident?
Oh, still a bit nervous, Sean. Potentially this isn't another banana skin. People are thinking Fiji are already out of the competition. They've got nothing to play for. That's totally wrong, because Fiji are playing for automatic qualification at the next World Cup, so they don't have to go through all the qualifiers. So there is a lot at stake for them there. They're a team loaded with stars of French rugby. Got a really dangerous back division. Caused Australia major problems in that first match of the World Cup, and obviously blew it against Uruguay, but they put Georgia away in style. And any mistakes from Wales, and Fiji got the players to capitalise.
And maybe it's a case of luring us into a false sense of security with that Uruguay result. John, same feelings? Are you not
yeah,
quite
certainly
confident?
was after the Uruguay game, obviously, which was one of the shocks of the World Cup, really. But then that game against Georgia, where they were outstanding, Andy, weren't they? And they were good against Australia for long periods of that game, up until the final 20 minutes or so. It is a banana skin. I mean, Wales should win. They're the better team. They've picked a really strong side. You feel with this Wales team, the mistakes of the past, we talked a lot this week in the office about 2007 and all that. This Wales team feels different. You'd be very surprised if they get drawn into a game where they could end up losing.
Yeah, one thing's for sure is Wales will play to Warren Gatland's game plan. Back in 2007, the game plan was thrown out the window and the boys just went on there, threw the ball around willy-nilly and played the Fiji hands. That will not happen under Warren Gatland. So expect a structured game.
Let's talk a little bit about where this game is being played. We're in the city of Oita in the south of Japan, and it's a state-of-the-art stadium. I think it was built for the 2002 Football World Cup, about 40,000 capacity, and Wales are guaranteed to come back to this stadium for the quarter-final, whether they top the group or come second. Both of those games are going to be played in the same city, whereas whether it's England or France, either opponent will not have been to the stadium. Do you think that has any sort of advantage, Andy?
Yeah, I do actually, because the humidity down there is unreal. The heat inside the stadium has got a roof on it. Steve Hansen said after the All Blacks match, I think, with Canada, that the All Blacks made a load of handling errors, many of them unforced, due to the humidity and the ball being so damp. The players said it was really difficult conditions, and so I think that would give Wales an advantage. Whoever they play in the quarterfinals wouldn't have been there already, so Wales will have be more used to it. But of course, those conditions could have a bearing on this match with Fiji, who are most used to that type of humidity because of where they are from. And
John, we've also had a little bit of a spat, if you will, about the team hotel that Wales and England have been fighting over, for want of a better phrase.
Yeah, slightly strange, and obviously both teams are going to be based there for the quarterfinals, and I think they've had to draw lots, haven't they? If I'm correct, there's one hotel that both teams wanted, and they had to draw lots, and England have won that battle, if you like. Probably doesn't matter, things like that. Same with the stadium, and I'm sure this is the type of thing players will talk down. It's what you do on the pitch that really matters. But rugby, particularly at this level, they always talk about those extra 1%, those extra 0.5%. So familiarity in terms of the stadium, yes, it would be a benefit to Wales. But I'm sure they'll be staying in nice digs no matter where they end up staying for the quarterfinals.
We've just been talking about how we shouldn't look beyond Fiji and we shouldn't get too cocky, and yet we have to look ahead to Uruguay. It's going to be a completely different Wales team you'd expect, especially if we beat Fiji. What do you think? Well, name the 15, or let's go through the team you think that might.
The halfpenny fullback, the rest Liam Williams, because of he's looking after wingers. Alan Amos on the one wing, but then quite interestingly, either George North or Josh Adams or Liam Williams got to play on the other wing, because Wales are short numbers, only 31 in the squad. I would expect Adams to start because I think he's more durable, and they'll want to put North and Liam Williams in cotton wool. Same situation we got in the centre. One of the centres is going to have to play. They play Adley Parks or Jonathan Davis.
difficult. Probably Jonathan Davis, maybe a half each. I don't know. Is Jonathan Davis one of those players that you have to wrap up in cotton wool for a game that really doesn't matter? I don't know.
I think they're more likely perhaps to start with him because Parks has had his fractured bone in his hand, so maybe he'll need more protecting. Of course, some of this will depend on what happens against Fiji, how physical that game is. So I would thought Jonathan Davis be paired with Owen Watkin. Yeah,
and then Patchell, Thomas Williams will be the half packs. You'd have thought.
Yeah, because they obviously going to play their second choice players. The subs are all going to play. The moment they say I want to pitch the better, you're not going to play your third choice players. What's the point of them starting? They're going to be on the bench, and the likes of Ali Davis or the other Ryan Elias. So yeah, they'll be the half backs. And then when you come to the front row, quite interesting there, loose head prop, because Rhys Carey's on the bench this week.
Yeah,
who do you start with?
Probably maybe the Carey then, I suppose, given that. I don't know.
I think they'll go with Nicky Smith, because if anything happened to Wyn Jones, they wouldn't need Nicky Smith to start in a quarter final. I don't think they would risk starting with Rhys Carey that level because of his scrummaging. Elliot D's certainly started hooker, assuming he's alright. And then interesting, this is a big selection decision at tight head prop. Do you stick with Thomas Francis or do you go with Dylan Lewis? Because Uruguay's strength, the scrum?
Perhaps, but I don't think Wales would be too worried about any of Uruguay's strengths, not to be disrespectful to them. I think you'd expect Dylan Lewis there. And then Adam Beard, we should see Adam Beard for that Uruguay game. We obviously haven't seen him at all, have we, throughout the tournament. Who starts next to Adam Beard?
Bradley Davis.
Bradley Davis will get his game after coming coming late. And then back row is probably interesting, but you're probably looking at Shingler.
Definitely.
Would start in there, wouldn't he?
Yeah. Number 8's a toss-up perhaps between Moriarty and depending on how he goes against Fiji, can he back it up? And Josh Navidi, who's in the same boat. And then they got to decide on open side. Justin Tipuric has been a key man during his World Cup, was rested against Fiji. Gatlin suggested that he'll be playing against Uruguay, which presumably, if he is, he will be captain. But I'm quite surprised to hear that, mind, that he'll be playing against.
Yeah, I was a bit taken about that, but he said he would be playing against Uruguay to bring that leadership quality, a bit of seniority to what will be an inexperienced team. So yeah, he's probably a good shout for captain for that game.
There we are. Well, we don't just want to hear from these chaps next to me. We want to hear from you at home. Please send us all your questions and any views you have to the Facebook page. You can write your questions below the video that's playing right now. In the meantime, we've been out on the streets of Wales. We've been to a couple of towns and asking the good people who they think is their favourite player of the tournament so far, favourite Welsh player.
Best player of the tournament so far for me, early days, but leads from the front, heart of a lion, never lets his country down, Wyn Jones.
Rhys Patchell, I like, he's doing well.
Liam Williams is possibly one of the best.
Rhys Patchell. Jonathan Davis.
So far for me is Alan Wyn Jones.
Aaron Wainwright has come from nowhere and he's shining especially against back rows, world class Australians.
Courtney Lawes for England.
Well, the most consistent player to me is Alan Wyn Jones.
Alan Wyn Jones, the man, isn't it?
I've been happy with Rhys Patchell.
Rhys Patchell,
yeah, definitely.
There you go, the views of some of the Welsh public there. And we've had some more questions in from you, the viewers. Let's start with James. He asks, do you think the Super Typhoon set to hit Japan is going to affect Wales and Uruguay? Now, just before we went to broadcast this afternoon, there's been some developing news on this so-called Super Typhoon, John.
Yes, I'm not a weather expert, but no, I don't. So initially, the big fear was the island game on the weekend, with the Wales game potentially affected. There's been a shift, apparently, as the weather experts say. So it's not the Wales and Ireland games now. That they don't look like they will be affected. So there's nothing to worry about there. But the England-France game and the Japan-Scotland game, big game that one on the weekend, are both looking like they might be right in the eye of it, and we'll await to see what happens. It's still a bit of vagueness about what the rules say and what could potentially happen. There's a lot of fear that games, that are called off on the day are declared 0-0 draws, and that could obviously have a big impact, particularly in Japan and Scotland's group. But there is scope, apparently, to move games within 48 hours notice. So World Rugby, they're issuing updates every single day at the minute, so we'll probably be looking at by Thursday, one way or the other, there will be a definite decision on whether those games will move back or forward a day or move venues, I think is probably the most likely thing, to a different part of the country, which obviously is upheaval, but I think anybody would prefer that rather than see games declared 0-0 draws, particularly with the impact that could have in that Japan group.
Here's a question from Liam, and this one's for you, Andy. Which Fiji player is the biggest threat to Wales?
I think their lock forward, Leone Nakawara, has been a fantastic player, playing in Europe for years in the Heineken Cup, etc. And it's great for Fiji, Olympic gold medalist. If he's playing well, the rest of them play well, because he's got such a good offloading game and allows players to play off him. And then if that happens, of course, you will see their star-studded backs will cause Wales major problems with their running. We all know how strong and how powerful Fiji are. In 2007 World Cup, they actually beat Wales up that day as well. So they will offer a stern physical challenge. The Welsh boys are going to be absolutely right up for it to handle them.
Yeah, we did a piece with Gareth Baber this morning, who's obviously Fiji Sevens coach, and he describes some of the Semi Radradra and another one, the best, most talented players he's ever seen close up. So that's the type of thing they're dealing with.
There we are then. And if the game isn't going to plan, if things are going a little bit haywire, what does Gatland do? How does he react?
Throws on the subs, because he's bound to have some quality. He's got quality on the bench. I think he'll stick with that game plan to beat them, sort of regimented game plan. Try and get them in a structured game, and hope that's good enough. If Wales try to take Fiji on at their game, just throwing the ball around and all, they might come off second best, so they're going to have to be careful.
Yeah.
He would hope that Fiji blow up in the last final 20 minutes on a fitness run.
And of course, that's exactly what happened in 2007, like you said earlier. Craig Mitchell, can Ross Moriarty and James Davis make the quarter-finals starting 15 if they play well?
No.
I say Moriarty can. Moriarty has a big game. I think there's a chance that he will play in a World Cup quarter-final because the extra size and muscle he brings at number 8.
Gatland did say before the Australia game that Moriarty was unlucky not to be involved in that one.
He did, but he won't. I don't think. We look at Gatland. We always think about Gatland. He can throw curveballs, grenades, and all the rest of it. But he's actually pretty structured in what he does around team selection. And if he picks a team, as he did for Australia, an all-out game, everything on the line, he picked that team. They delivered. He will not change that for the quarter-final. I don't think whatever Ross Moriarty does, and particularly how well the back row has been doing. Navidi has been outstanding. Wainwright has been outstanding, and Justin Tipperick has been probably Wales' player of the tournament so far. I think that's their back row for that quarter-final, no matter what happens in the next couple of games.
I disagree with that, because Moriarty's been a key man in the past, and Gatland will be trying to fire him up to get a big performance out of him, because Moriarty does play on emotion, and Wales need another ball carrier in that back row. So if he can carry well against Fiji's big men, there is a possibility he would start.
Well, can we both agree at least that James Davis is going to have to do something pretty spectacular?
It would have to be very spectacular, but no, he's a good player. He's really grown in Gatland's eyes. You can tell, obviously. For many years he didn't pick him, but he likes him. He likes him a lot, and he's trusting him in this game. But like I just said, Justin Tipperick has been the Justin Tipperick of old. He's been the player of the tournament for Wales.
Yeah, he's been one of the best players in the tournament.
Yeah, absolutely.
Technical question for you chaps. Carl Sanders asks, what happens if Wales lose to Fiji? Simple as that. Do we still qualify? What do we need to do if we lose that game?
I had to write this down before coming in. So based on the assumption that Wales will beat Uruguay with a bonus point and Australia will beat Georgia with a bonus point, by our reckoning, Wales can lose to Fiji and still top the group as long as they pick up 2 bonus points, which they would get by losing by less than 7 points or less and scoring 3 tries or more. So I don't think they will lose, but there is scope there for an upset, and Wales will still top the group because they'd be tied on points with Australia, and because Wales beat Australia in that head-to-head game, that trumps in terms of qualification.
There's a couple of questions coming in on possible quarter-final opponents. Stuart Morris cheekily asks, will England lose to France in order to have an easier route to the final?
Do you know what? That's a very good question, because that could be a 0-0 draw. Neither team will want to win that match, because the easier passage to the final is, as it looks at the minute, is Wales after the draw. England want to avoid New Zealand on the way to the final, New Zealand and Australia. So that is the harder route. So I don't think they will. It's just but
I refuse to believe you can enter a World Cup
Yeah.
test match and not be going all out to win. Unless you're France, maybe. If one team could, maybe France probably could. But the shape they look in at the minute, I think England will win that game.
But France are dangerous by the minute because they're in absolute disarray. Is it?
Well, yeah,
There's,
we've seen it
anarchy,
before,
there's call for the coaches to be overthrown and all. Last time that happened was in 2011.
2011,
And guess
yeah,
what? They reached the final of the World Cup and arguably they were robbed in it.
Well, that what leads us on to Phil's question. Who do you think Wales would rather face in the quarter-final?
France.
You posted this the other day on Twitter with a sort of suggestion. You thought, maybe Wales would prefer to face England, and everyone shot you down quite swiftly, I seem to think. But yeah,
they didn't
France.
shoot me down. It was people said France, which fair enough. However, if France brought the game to Wales, which they produced in the first half of the Six Nations against Wales and against Argentina in this tournament, they are a dangerous side. Anything could happen. That game is another game. Is not a given.
Let me flip that question and ask you, would you rather we played England in the quarter-final or the final?
Rather beat them in the final.
Sounds good to me. I think that's just about all the time we've got today as well. Please join us on Wales Online for all your latest breaking news, all the match information, all the live action and analysis, and especially join us tomorrow for that huge encounter with Fiji. Thank you very much.